If you don't believe in aliens, don't watch this video. Can you say hi? So I'm pet sitting per usual, so I figured I'd bring my camera and just do a little filming today so I can get something posted. Okay, today we're gonna get pretty like deep, philosophical, whatever you wanna call it. I have recently had this like entire awakening, I guess, for lack of words. And I've always like thought really out of the box in terms of like why we're here and what life is about and like the meaning of life and all this shit, like the universe and things. Like I've talked about that kind of stuff so many times before, but I've never thought about it to this extent or in this way that now I just feel like I'm so much closer to having figured out what life is all about. I don't know. Part of what sparked this was this documentary I watched on Netflix called Bob Lazar, Aliens, UFOs, whatever, something like that. Bob Lazar, just search that. And he's this dude who in the like 70s when he was like 20 or something, he got hired out of college at like a job recruitment thing, like thought he was just hiring for some like whatever company, and it ended up being like recruitment to work for the government at Area 51, and he like knows all these like secrets about Area 51 and shit. Very on brand for right now with the internet and the whole like we're all gonna storm Area 51 and find out what the fuck's in there and shit. That would be pretty epic, although I think a lot of people would die. But yeah, he basically says that there's a fuck ton of alien life out there. No shit, that shouldn't be surprising to people. That's surprising. I'm like, you actually don't think there's aliens? Like basically there are aliens and the government has like alien technology that's, oh my fucking god, oh my god. I spook myself really easily, and I'm sitting here talking about aliens and this thing popped up in the window and it was just part of the couch flapping in the wind. So but basically, he was hired by the government to work on alien technology that they found in space. Maybe it dropped out of space, I don't know. I didn't really get that part, but yeah, he basically was just like, there is this crazy fucking A. Basically just like their technology is crazy and there was certain shit that we like couldn't even disassemble, take apart because we just didn't have the means to do so. Like there was stuff that had like force fields around it, and it's like, how can we break through a force field? You don't even understand how that's created. Like, could you imagine if we knew how to create force fields? We would just create force fields around any location we didn't want to have like blown up or attacked by terrorists or just damaged in any way. They would put a fucking force field around Area 51 to keep everybody away. But in one part of the documentary, he said something about us being a simulation of an alien's computer game. And I'm not gonna say like that's what I think life is, that we're part of some computer that the aliens are running, but I will say that I think that there's a chance that just something out there is controlling us, if that makes sense. Like there is a higher power that tries to communicate with us, tries to lead us on a certain path. Like that's why we have gut instincts. That's why we have this thing called intuition. That's just the labels we've put on these feelings that we get out of nowhere as humans. But that's just like your higher power leading you, like your spirit energy, your spirit leader, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So really religious people, this is gonna be God. God is the person who speaks to you, that gives you your intuition, that helps you make decisions, that makes you feel all holy, right? People that aren't religious might believe that there's aliens out there, something like that, that's controlling us. People might actually think that we are a computer game, which I know that sounds crazy because it's like, what do you mean? I'm not pixels, I'm real. If you cut me, I bleed, blah, blah, blah. But really think about it. Like, if we were a computer game, then we wouldn't ever feasibly even think it was possible for us to be a computer game, which just goes to show that we probably could be. Because when you as a human play a video game on your Xbox or whatever, the avatar you're controlling in the video game thinks that it's real, like in its video game head, if you know what I mean, to the fullest extent that it knows what it is. It thinks that it is itself in the computer game. We as humans know the computer game isn't shit. It's something that someone created, burned onto a disc. The avatars in a computer game are clearly not real. That could be said of us too. There could be some higher power that's controlling us and we're their avatars. And then when we get these feelings, these gut feelings out of nowhere where we're like, I have this great idea, I need to pursue this, or this is what I'm supposed to do, that is your like spirit leader, your higher consciousness God, whatever it is, I don't know the label for it, okay? I don't know the answer. If I knew the answer to the meaning of life, I feel like I would have a bajillion dollars. I would be capitalizing off that shit. I would like go live with the aliens somewhere. So I'm not saying like, oh, this is the meaning of life. This is true. I'm just saying, I've been really thinking a lot about all the possibilities of like who we are and where we came from. And it just really makes sense to me that I do believe that we are souls. That's kind of like the religious standpoint, or an orb of energy, a consciousness, whatever you want to call it, inhabiting a human body. Human is like kind of the host, like this is just what we are, and we live on this thing called planet Earth, whatever the fuck that even is, in this thing called space. What the fuck is space? But then when you think about space and the universe and how it goes on forever and the galaxy goes on forever, if you then go back to the theory of, oh, what if we're a simulation, then that makes perfect sense then that the universe is infinite, because then we're just a tiny blip inside of some computer or technology or something that's greater than us that basically just has like the whole world in his or her, its hands. I just think it's very naive to believe that like being a human is like the top of the food chain and the greatest thing you can be, and humans like run the world and everything else. And I think people that think that way and really think that like being Brighton Timko as this human is like the shit, like this is everything. Like people that think like that, you're literally brainwashed. Like the way you think is basically how the government wants you to think. So I just don't believe that. I don't think that I or we as a fucking whole entire race of people, species, whatever, I just don't think we're shit. I think there's something so much bigger and greater than us that's like low-key controlling us. And like I said, when you get this intuition or these gut instincts about ideas, or shit just comes to you, or you have an epiphany, or you meet people and really vibe with them, or whatever it is, all that shit is not random. That is something leading you, trying to guide you. And it's just whether or not you act on it, which then goes into the whole topic of conversation over the law of attraction and abundance and how your thoughts manifest into your reality. Of course, how does this not make so much sense? Like people that don't get this, like if you are nothing more than a soul, energy, orb, consciousness, whatever, inhabiting a body, the energy that lives inside of us that's making us who we are is like existential. Like we can't even conceptualize really that we are more than just this like human form, because it's like a fact that humans only use like a very small percentage of their full brain's capacity, right? That's weird. Like why can't we use all of our whole brain? That's because humans are limited. Like humans in comparison to some like magical energy god ain't shit. You don't think magical energy god can do and know so much more than a fucking human can? Obviously. That's why there's conspiracy theories about how the reason that drugs are illegal and there's this whole war on drugs is because the government, who is aware of like the aliens or whatever, like this might be a stretch, but it does also make a little bit of sense, is that they don't want people tapping into that level of consciousness. Like when you take DMT, or even when you just like do shrooms or acid and you like trip out and you just kind of get taken to this reality that's not what normal reality is, and you think about things in ways that you never could if you were sober. And there's this drug I heard about called ayahuasca that people take that basically is like this crazy shit that makes you vomit, and like in old like Native American traditions they say that that's you like expelling your demons, like expelling your bad energy, and then you basically just go on this crazy fucking trip for like hours and hours that they call 10 years of therapy in like a single trip, because you just like dive so deep into your like inner shit. It like blows people's minds. Like most people that do it cry and stuff. It's like a very emotional, intense drug to take, and it's like illegal most places, but you can like find ways to avoid that and like go on retreats to do it with other people who want to get all into their consciousness and shit. And why do you think things like that are illegal? Obviously because they don't want us to use the full capacity of our brains. But that's what I mean whenever I write or say like the human experience, is I'm saying that yeah, we are living the human experience, but we are so much more than just humans. But our human self can only do what humans can do. Like humans can't fly, so you can't attempt that. And we're limited in thinking in only ways that humans are capable of thinking. And it's a fact that humans can only use like 15% of their brain or something. So to think that we're the smartest and we're the best and we're the top of the food chain and the whole ecosystem, galaxy, whatever, and that there's no God and that there's no energy and that we just are born and then we die. We're just a microorganism like everything else that's born and then decays, and there is no soul and there is no life after death and you don't know what's happening to you. Like, to think that way is like, no, like you are the definition of a dumb human. Like, you're using the very limited brain capacity you have and you think that that's it. You think that's where life caps out, but it's not. And when you start thinking in terms of life being meaningless in the sense that just inhabiting this human body and living this thing called life, like life is literally a game. So playing this game of life and you're gonna stress out about like all the shit that doesn't matter. I'm telling you, like once you just change your way of thinking to start thinking of like yourself as a form of consciousness or an orb of energy or a soul or whatever, just having to live in this human body for the length of a human life or whatever the fuck, everything becomes so much easier. You become so much happier because you kind of realize that like literally nothing matters. So some girl's mean to you in the hallway at school. Okay, so another avatar in this game of life was a piece of shit to you. Okay, whatever, fuck you. Like nothing matters. I don't know if this is making sense. I don't know how to conceptualize this. It's like so complicated for me to like put into words how I view this. Like we just focus so much on stupid human things and human emotions, and keep in mind that emotions are also part of the human experience. Your emotions are just a result of the chemicals in your brain, which we have brains because humans have brains. That's all part of the human experience. But at the end of it, like who gives a fuck that some boy like fucked you over? Like yeah, you're gonna cry because the human part of you wants to cry and feel those emotions and whatever, but like your spirit energy needs to boss the fuck up and be like, fuck that, this other avatar fucked me over, like I'm not here for it. Just think of other people as avatars. Like you're gonna let another avatar in a game get you down? Like who gives a fuck? Especially when there's billions of avatars out there, where you're gonna let the opinion of another avatar affect you. Like you are a conscious ball of energy. Like you can't stress about the stupid shit that humans have to go through. I had to literally take a little break from filming. I just watched like a whole Netflix movie. I've been at this fucking people's house watching this cat. Hey, for hours. And my thoughts were like all jumbling together because this idea is so abstract. It's so confusing to explain. And people that are really analytical or don't believe in anything, like I was saying earlier, like they're always gonna think that topics of conversation like this, oh my God, this fucking cat's hair. People that are really analytical and don't believe in anything, like my dad is so like not religious, totally only believes in science, thinks that like we're just animals that became more civilized than every other species and we like created some shit and we've evolved and we're gonna die, and when you're dead, that's it, it's lights out, like nothing matters. And I do believe that nothing matters in terms of the human experience. I think that what we are on the inside is so much bigger than what life is as a human, which going back to the whole we're only using like 15% of our brain, like yeah, no shit, you don't think there's more to life than just what this fucking organ inside your skull can like tell you to do, which is why I was talking about the whole gut instinct thing and your intuition and the law of attraction. When you want something and you kind of just call out to this higher power and get in tune with like your soul and like your spirit guide, for lack of better words, that's when you start getting more intuitive. You become more in tune with yourself. You know yourself well. You know who you are as this human that you have been assigned to almost. I have a friend who's really into all this shit, and he was telling me how he firmly believes that your consciousness chooses like the body that you end up in, like wherever the fuck our consciousness comes from, whether it's from the aliens computer game, whether it's from God. Literally no one knows for sure. There's no way to fucking know. But wherever this consciousness, soul, whatever comes from, your consciousness selected you and selected your parents, and like you were meant to live the like human life that you are living. But like really don't take life that seriously. This is how I don't understand how people can, one, not be confident in themselves, and two, care so much what other people think. Because one, once you realize that you're nothing more than a soul in a flesh vessel, like who gives a fuck what you look like? Who gives a fuck if you're kind of overweight? literally no one gives a shit. Like, all that matters is if you're like a good person, you feed your soul and you feed your ego with nothing but positivity, you're gonna start putting that back out in the world. Your spirit guide's gonna fucking notice that shit, and you're gonna get rewarded tenfold. Karma, people, because there is something greater than you leading you. It's just whether or not you're going to tune into that and listen to that, or if you're just going to be like, that's hogwash, and not be receptive to that. That's why meditation, extremely popular. People just think, oh, that's just a way people like zen out, yoga, whatever. No, dude, when you're meditating and you turn off your mind and you get into this place that's like almost a level of hypnosis, where it's kind of like human and soul are no longer intertwined. You're kind of like leaving your human shell for a second, just like in this Zen moment. That is you tapping in to your higher consciousness that you're not ever going to think about when you're not tuned in. Our brains are running a mile a minute. We're constantly thinking about shit, constantly worried about shit, constantly anxious about shit, constantly on our phone. Having this device that we stare into all the time is so fucking bad for just our existence and like the greater meaning of what life is about. And I really just feel like life is about nothing more than finding the other people in this world whose souls connect with your soul. Because it's like, what else could there possibly be about than finding the people who you just connect with so well that you just have the best friendships and the best relationships and the best work environment, et cetera, et cetera. Why do you think they use the word soulmate for like your great love, which I actually don't believe in a soulmate. I definitely believe that you can find people that you connect with so perfectly because maybe there's a chance that your soul or consciousness or whatever knew their soul consciousness in a past life. Because if your consciousness comes from wherever and it enters this body when I come out of the womb, where is it going to go when I die? Probably into another body eventually, which then that fucks with my whole thinking on like the afterlife, and I can't even like get that far into it because that'll just mindfuck myself. I feel like I get so mindfucked talking about these things that I don't even know how to explain it well to other people. But if you can just take anything away from whatever the fuck this video was, is your human self doesn't mean shit. Our human life is in the palm of something, someone's hand, whether that's God, whether we're a computer game, who the fuck knows. But this simulation of us as people walking around on Earth, like think of the Sims computer game, and that's us. It's now up to us to like kind of let go of everything that we think we know about life and society and just kind of like let your consciousness take over, let your higher spirit energy lead you, listen to your gut, meditate, call on a higher spirit for assistance, and it will come to you. Maybe it'll come to you in a dream, maybe it'll come to you in a gut instinct, maybe you'll just have this epiphany one day of some great business idea that you know if you put in the work for, it'll take off and lead you somewhere. Like, listen to your fucking gut. It's not a feeling coming from nothing, coming from nowhere. We're just avatars interacting with other avatars. If someone's rude to you, even if you get like cheated on by your husband of 10 years that you have 5 kids with, no matter how bad it feels, be able to recognize that these emotions, this anxiety, this negativity that you feel about yourself or your life, whatever, is literally coming from the human experience, from emotions, from the chemicals in your brain, from your ego. Those things are not connected to your consciousness. So try and stay woke. I know that's kind of like a funny millennial phrase, but to me, staying woke just means like stay like on top of shit, like stay educated, stay immersed in educating yourself on information that might seem out of the norm but might really be the norm. Like, what if all the kooky people like me that love to talk about this shit and think about who we are and our souls and whatever, what if all the people like me who are kooky are the people who are not only so much closer to the truth of whatever life is and what it's about, and maybe the kooky people like me are the ones who are going to be really successful and are going to pursue weird things that other people might not get, like YouTube and stuff. But maybe that's just because that's what my gut and my intuition has been telling me for years. My gut for years, since before I even like was doing all the things I'm doing now in regards to like helping people and giving people advice. Like, I just knew like I'm meant to do something big. I'm meant to help people, and I'm meant to like make a name for myself. That's why the most simple way of saying that is like, I want to be famous. I've been saying that for like at least 5 years, and it just seems so silly, but like, you don't know the feeling inside of me that I feel in regards to what I'm capable of accomplishing and who I'm going to be. Like, am I gonna have my own Wikipedia page by the time I die? I hope so. But just things like that, like that's my calling. That's what my intuition is constantly telling me. And you're gonna try and tell me that that's just a fluke? Like, no, that's because my higher power knows that whatever soul consciousness that's existing in my body is one that is capable of doing X, Y, and Z things. So literally don't sweat the small stuff. Don't waste time on people that suck, because those people that you constantly butt heads with, or people that make you feel bad or put you down, or bad relationships or fuckboys or whatever it may be, those are people whose souls are not meshing with your soul at all. Like, that's kind of like putting two magnets together that don't click, and there's like that force field being created. That's kind of what's happening. So if you feel like you can't be around certain people because they create negativity, or being around certain people make you feel bad, like you're just draining your energy. And at the end of the day, what are we? Balls of energy, balls of consciousness inside a human body. Why do you want to be around people that drain your energy? You need to be around people who make you feel like your level of energy and your level of consciousness is on their level. You need to be around people who lift you up and who think the same as you. And there's so many people that will literally die. They'll be 85 years old on their deathbed that will have never once even taken 30 minutes out of their entire life to sit and really introspectively think about these things that I've shared with y'all today. And maybe they 100% didn't make sense, but there's so much information out there by people who spend their life dedicating their spare time to learning about this shit because they want to be as in tune with their consciousness as possible. And the people that go to these retreats and take that ayahuasca shit and go on some like 5-hour trippy ass journey that people call 10 years of therapy in one trip. Like, there are people that will go their whole lives not even thinking that they mean anything and not believing that there's a higher power leading them. And that makes me so sad. Like, that's just the epitome of being like stuck in the matrix, as this guy I know says, which is basically just saying like you're brainwashed, like you aren't woke at all. You haven't had an awakening. You don't realize your higher power. You don't realize your higher self. You're just letting your emotions and anxiety and all these things that we go through because we're human, and only because we're human. Like, imagine if we were all souls inside of butterflies. I don't think butterflies cry over their ex-boyfriends. Like, crying and shit is literally a human response to a negative emotion. Sometimes happy. But just really try and get yourself to think about the human experience in the human body is not what makes you you, and is not your fucking consciousness. There is nature and nurture and life. And that, again, goes in with who we are as humans. But there's also a spiritual side to life. Like, what is the life inside of my body? Like, the light inside of me. What, like, keeps me on this path of enlightenment, whatever, which I just find it all now so ironic and, like, so many little synchronicities. Is I have this tattoo on my thigh that's a lotus flower and the... Can you see it? I can't tell. The Path of Enlightenment, which is a Buddhist thing. And I really feel like I'm only 24 and I've already gotten so in touch with like, well, who am I as like a conscious being, and like who's guiding me, and what do I need to be listening to, and what signs should I be paying attention to? It's like the best word I can use for it is like an enlightenment. And it's like so funny that years ago, before I even thought this way at all, I got a tattoo of the Path of Enlightenment. And now I feel like I'm just like naturally on that path now, which is something that people in Buddhism and those religions discuss a lot. Which, why do you think religion is so widespread? Because people believe that there's a God that does all these things, and religions are different and whatever, but your God, which maybe it is God, maybe it's something crazy, maybe it's an alien, we don't know. Whatever it is, like, it's looking out for you. Like, things can work out in your favor, and life can be as good as you want it to be if you just, like, don't fucking waste time on stupid shit. Like, people that are so obsessed with, like, owning designer things, and, like, they care about material items and care about putting on this facade to other people, and they really care about drama, and they're like always have arguments. Like, I just think of the Real Housewives as the perfect example of this. Like, these women who are in their 50s who just care about nothing more than like having the best of the best and having cars that cost like $250,000 and just petty drunk arguments all the time, and thinking that that's the end all be all of life. Like, those people are so plugged into the matrix. Those people don't even realize what life is about. Like, those people actually think that that's what matters. Like, are you fucking kidding? And, like, I I could literally go off on so many tangents to talk about this subject for so long, so I feel like I need to shut this video down. Like I said, if you want to know more about things like this, just watch the Bob Lazar documentary, Google like crystal energy, and Google things like tapping into your consciousness. Like there's TED Talks on things like that. There's just all this information that'll blow your mind. And the dude who's my friend who like talks about all this stuff, he's like really into crystals, has crystals like all over his house. And I used to always think that crystals and shit like that was so kooky, but now it makes so much sense. Like crystals do have certain energies and healing properties because they're from the earth, Mother Nature. It's all connected somehow, right, baby? So then if we are energy and we are light, obviously then it would make sense that crystals of certain kinds could like be in tune, etc., with your energy and like bring different vibrations into your life, etc. That's also why they try and say like the more you are in tune with nature and spend time outside in the sunshine and keep your feet grounded, like even to just like stand outside in grass for 10 minutes in the sunshine, like they say that that does so much good for like your soul and your body and your serotonin levels, just to be grounded, literally standing on the ground of the actual earth and like being in tune with nature. And that's supposed to like naturally relieve depression, like all this shit that sounds so kooky and weird. Like it's really not kooky if you allow yourself to like think outside the box and believe that anything's possible and believe that like we are so much more than whatever we are. But this dude, he has all these crystals over his house, right? And like the second time we hung out, he noticed that I have the crystal on the back of my neck and he was like, what the fuck? You have a diamond tattoo? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, who cares? Couldn't even make the connection. I was like, yeah, I got it because my best friend has the same one, blah, 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 whatever. And he was like, no, but what's a diamond? And I was like, a crystal. And he was like, exactly. What's the fucking chance that I meet you? And every time we hang out, we have all these conversations about literally only this. This is like one of the only things we discuss basically. And you have a crystal tattooed on you. Like, how can you not say that that's a synchronicity of life? Like it's all connected. Like that was like your higher spirit leader, whatever you want to call it, or God or whatever, leading you to me. Like we were meant to meet. Like you're meant to meet so many people and meant to experience so many little things that like just looking back now on so many things that have happened in my life and just how my life is going and like my intuition and my gut instincts on different things and ideas I've had and things that I feel like if I just do it, like it'll take off and I'll be so successful, like all these things, like it's not random. And if you just really want to believe that life is random and life doesn't mean anything, then I mean, you can do that, but it's like, this life isn't even what life is about. Like this life is probably just the like stepping stone to whatever comes after life on earth is. Like maybe after this simulation, maybe once I'm done being a sim in this life computer game, I'm gonna go on to like Galaxy, Zelda, Z, whatever the fuck, and inhabit some alien body. I don't know. I think that in the grand scheme of things, the human species and life on earth is probably like a speck of dust in the wind. I don't know. You either think I'm crazy or you think I'm onto something. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to share these ideas. I've gotten so many video requests to share all my trippy thoughts on like the universe and the meaning of life. So hopefully you took something away from this. There's a lot of information out there. Basically our reality, everything around us, even things we can touch. I'm sorry, like knocking on this table. Like even things like right in front of us that we can touch. Like it's been proven that even our actual reality that we're seeing and feeling and breathing and smelling and literally living right now in the human experience, it's like literally been scientifically proven that our reality around us isn't even really our reality. It's all just like an abstraction of light beams and atoms, and all those things are just perceived in our eyeballs, which goes to our brain to be taken in the way that we've been taught to take it in. And what we've been taught to believe that reality is, we're taught to believe that big blue thing above us is the sky. We're taught to believe this is the ground. We're taught to believe this thing I'm filming on is a video camera, but it's all made up. We made up all of that. Like, doesn't that blow your fucking mind? And there's this theory that basically proves that like the atoms that create everything around us, everything's created from atoms, blah, blah, blah. I guess we know this from science, that our eyeball/brain can only take in like a sixth or something of what's actually around us. And I watched this like whole video on it and I was like, okay, so what you're telling me is there's like other things like basically around me at all times that I just can't see. Like I physically as a human, my human form cannot interpret the information that's around me that I literally don't know is around me. Like, I don't know, it's so trippy. If you get into it enough and you start thinking about life and just experiences with other people, and shit, the way I think about shit, I can almost like guarantee you, like you'll be so much happier. Okay, I'm gonna go before I like mind fuck myself any harder. Bye.